At first, I was like, gosh, this guy's kind of a dick. I would have deepened his voice even more and made him more like aggressive sounding, but they were super particular in the studio of how he sounded. Well, first we'd head to Snezhnaya, and then we'd do some ice fishing. And then after that, I'd pick up a snowball and whip it at his face. No, I'm just kidding.
You're watching convention coverage.
Fudo and Devilman Crybaby, Tadano and Aggretsuko. I voice, Shinichi in a bunch of the Conan movies, and Kaito Kid. Ryota and Kakegurui. Muichiro and Demon Slayer, who's seen Demon Slayer, okay? And then probably most popular is Child in Genshin Impact. Thank you. But yeah, so I've been doing it for a while, and I love what I do. And then I'd say Genshin really changed things for me with social media and my presence at conventions. So things have really ramped up since that role.
What's it like playing is Muichiro in Demon Slayer, especially in season 3?
He didn't have much to say in the first season, so I didn't know where he was headed with his character development. Have many of you seen season 3? Yeah. So as you know, he finally has his character reveal. You see his backstory. At first, I was like, "Gosh, this guy's kind of a dick," you know. But as you get to understand what happened to him as a boy and his relationship with his brother and stuff, to me, it was very gratifying to understand him and why he is the way he is, why he's such a, what do you call it, like a savant. He's like a prodigy. So yeah, I'm thrilled to be a part of the show. I'm so glad people are into the show. And I believe there will be more to come, so that's cool.
Thank you.
Outside of Muichiro, with all the other Hashiras, which one was your favorite?
I haven't seen like every bit of the show, but let's see. I like Rengoku. He's pretty cool. I watched the movie that he's the star of, and I thought that was pretty good. I thought it was actually pretty emotional, actually.
What you thought on Muichiro's backstory, like? Because I know when I was watching, I started crying. Like I didn't really expect.
What did I think of his backstory? Yeah. Oh, it's so tragic.
I know.
I feel like some people might not know that I voice his brother as well, Yuichiro.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So when you're watching that scene, it's like me talking to me. But even though that's kind of comical, I found it really sad. That episode, I think that's like episode 8 or something, and that was definitely the hardest to record. Not only because I'm like speaking to myself, but just the emotions are so high. That scene where the demon comes in their little house, and it's a lot of screaming, a lot of crying, and yeah, it was hard vocally and also emotionally.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite Demon Slayer arc? If you've seen like the anime or if you've read ahead in the manga?
I have not read the manga. People have told me about it, and so I know some things that I wish I didn't know. But I'd say the latest arc is my favorite, Swordsmith Village. So, I mean, I'm biased. But yeah, that would be my favorite.
All right, take care, man.
Yeah, you too.
What was your favorite part in Demon Slayer when you got to voice the role of Muichiro?
Probably unpacking his backstory in this latest arc. Getting to do that play between his brother and him and voice both characters was really cool. And also just seeing him be a badass and like kick some butt, like that was pretty sweet. So yeah. He's the youngest Hashira, and he's one of the most deadly.
My favorite role of yours was Fujimaru Ritsuka in the Fate Grand Order movies.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite servant from those movies?
I guess I'd have to say MASH. Yeah. Has anyone seen those Fate series? Anybody know Tony Oliver? He was my director on all those. So I always enjoyed going into the studio and working with him. So yeah, good question. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about your character Canute from Vinland Saga.
Oh yeah.
What was it like going from being so like docile and shy in the beginning to where he is now in season 2?
I found that very satisfying because I was like, come on. He was so dare I say, pathetic at times in the first season. I was like, come on, man. But I like that he gets to have a change. You know, I like to see the growth from season 1 to season 2. If I had free reign, I would have actually made him even more. I would have deepened his voice even more and made him more like aggressive sounding. But they were super particular in the studio of how he sounded. That anytime I would dip my voice a little lower, they're like, no, we want it to be just like this, and then they'd play me a reference. I have yet to sit down and watch that series, but it looks like a really cool one. A lot of good actors in it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
What did you think of the dynamic between Yumeko and Ryota in Kakegurui?
I don't think I thought it was sweet and fun.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen Kakegurui? That one made me nervous. That show made me nervous. I mean, I think it starts off sweet and fun, but then it gets like, whoa, what's going on? Like, this is scary. Fun fact, my 72-year-old mom watched it.
Oh,
She's like, I liked it, Griffin. I liked it. But I feel like in that show, all Ryota does is like gasp and say, Yumeko, no, stop. So he's the male protagonist, but I feel like he has the least lines of any male protagonist.
okay.
But thanks for your question. Yeah.
What was your favorite part of playing Tadano and Aggretsuko?
I like Tadano. I mean, his vocal placement is very similar to my natural voice. I love how nonchalant he is. He's like yawning half the time. He's in his hoodie, and yet he's this like tech billionaire who's always chauffeured around by Ennio. And I like that he's just like a nice guy. And even though he has all this wealth and whatever, seems like he's pretty humble and approachable. So I kind of wish it had worked out with Retzi, but alas. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm a huge fan of Cell's work. I love your character.
Yeah, Dendritic.
I forgot your character's name again.
Dendritic Cell.
Thank you, Cell. My question is, what was your favorite moment in that show?
Can't remember. There's like he's like in a tree or something.
Yeah.
And he comes out and he's helping like some young Cell that's crying and really upset. And he's like, there, little Cell.
Yeah, I remember
It'll
that.
be okay. Like, I think he always plays the big brother. And I don't know. I kind of like that dynamic of, you know, helping somebody out like that. So it's not very specific, but that's.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
How did you prepare between voicing Michiru versus voicing Child? Because they're kind of the same, like similar personality-wise. How did you prepare when voicing those roles?
Well, a lot of the preparation is from the past. It's from the acting experience that I've, have from years and years of doing this. So whenever you land a new role, you're bringing all those years of experience with you, and so it becomes easier and easier to get into a character, the further you're in your career. With Child, I remember getting the audition, and it was, it's been a while, but vaguely it was something about like he could be seen as a good guy, he's kind of a bad guy, he's very protective of his family, he's kind of suave. So I use pretty much my own voice, but I give him a little like air of like, I don't know, like I give him that like suave edge or something. So that's kind of what I think of when I voice Child. And then, of course, when you actually go into the session to record, they always give you clips to listen to before you start. So it's like, hey, just as a reminder, here's some lines as Child. Please repeat them, get into character, get into voice, and then we start the session.
Okay, kind of like a reminder so that you remember what the voice
looks
like.
Every session you do in anime, video games, if you're, doing another, your second session, third session, fourth, whatever, they always play you reference material so that you can get back into the character voice. Okay. Yeah, and the same goes for Muichiro.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like playing as Hilbert in Pokémon Masters EX?
So that was a job through Bang Zoom that I mentioned earlier. And, similarly to my other projects, I got sides, which is, it's a script or part of a script. And so I had to read some lines from it. There might have been some reference material to like, of the Was that game first in Japanese?
It came out the same time.
Same time? Okay.
Yes.
So I auditioned
gifted
for it.
first.
I got fortunate enough to book it. I went into the studio, and video games work like they have a slew of lines in a row, and we just kind of went through and knocked out each one. I actually had never played a Pokemon game before I voiced that, so that was new for me and pretty exciting. And I wish it was more of an exciting story to tell you, but it's a lot of like, you know, go into the studio, you do your thing, and then you find out later what game it is. You find out later, you know, that it's something pretty cool.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
How did you feel voicing Akira from Devilman and Crybaby?
That was crazy. I work with a studio. It's called SDI or whatever. It doesn't matter, but I'd done a lot of dubs for them. And one day, the guy who runs it, he wrote me and said, "Hey, I have a role for you if you want it." I didn't even audition for it, and I didn't know what it was. I'd never heard of it. So I came into the studio, and they're like, "Okay, let's give you a little playback of like what it looks like, what it sounds like." And they played like some of those scenes, you know what I'm talking about, and the music, and I'm like, what is this like sex, drugs, and rock and roll show? What is this? It's like psychedelic almost. So I just was thrown into the fire. I went in there, we recorded all the lines, I think in like 4 hours or maybe over 2-3 hour sessions. It was short. And, you know, roller coaster of emotions, young, you know, turning into Devilman, screaming, crying, all of it, all in like, you know, a matter of hours. And then spit out the other side, and then came out and I was like, wow, this show is really cool. But I didn't know anything about it, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Do you and the English directors have contact with the overseas studios and try to consolidate the characters that you're voicing with like the other performances?
Yeah.
Or do you get more creative freedom to kind of make the characters your own?
That's a great question. Oftentimes we do record with a representative from the studio in, say, China or Japan. And there might be a translator, somebody to sort of fact check what we're doing. So like, you know, we'll record a line and they'll say, okay, they'll tell us from their end, like, this is the context, this is where it is in the game, and if we need to modify it for the English audience, sometimes we have to change certain words. So yeah, they are on the line, and they will pipe in about like, we want you to sound a little younger. We need it to match the Japanese a little bit more. Can you young up your voice a little bit or age it up? But then again, there are some projects I work on where they're not as hands-on, and it's just up to the U.S. team to make these decisions. We'll do everything and then send out the audio, and then we'll get notes. And then maybe a month later, they're like, Griffin, we need you back in. We're going to redo some lines because they've discovered X, Y, and Z. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Who would win in a fist fight, Akira or Child? Follow legacy form and Devilman.
I would say that it would be a really close fight, and then I think Devilman might outdo.
Okay, this is a spoiler, but didn't like Child during the Fontaine quest like brawl with the freaking all-star narwhal, whatever, for like 2 whole months? Well, everyone was.
That's a good point. You bring up a very good point. I changed my answer now. Let's say Child will outdo Devilman. You know why? Actually, you know why? Because Devilman will start crying.
Oh my God! What if he also starts crying? What if they all start crying?
Child loves to fight.
Yeah.
Like that's everything to him.
But like,
I think he's relentless. I think you're. So I changed my answer. It's Child.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
What do you think you would do with your dear brother Tuser as a family bonding activity?
Well, first we'd head to Snezhnaya, and then we'd do some ice fishing. And then after that, I'd pick up a snowball and whip it at his face. No, I'm just kidding. Probably some snow activities. Maybe we'd ride a toboggan down the hills of Snezhnaya. Or, yeah, that's it. We'll build a snowman. And then we'd sing the snowman song.
Thank you.
If you're recording at home,
Yeah.
just kind of like, how do you physically do the recording at home? Do you prefer to record standing up, sitting down? Like, what size of room do you use to do that in?
Yeah, I use a booth. It's called a Studio Bricks booth. They are made in Spain, and they've become very popular with a lot of voice actors and musicians. They're modular. They almost come together like big Lego blocks. They're expensive, but they're amazing. They're very soundproof. So I have one of those. I think it's about 5 feet by 3 feet or so, or 6 by 3. So it's not a huge space. I tend to sit. And then I have a couple microphones, like a Gefell M930 and a Sennheiser 416. And I have a UA Apollo Twin interface. And then I use Cubase software. I don't know if this means anything to you, but that's my setup. Yeah. And there's a program called Source Connect that I pay a monthly subscription for, and that allows me to connect to studios. So if like a studio in the Bay Area is like, hey, we're doing this McDonald's commercial, we need to direct you over from your home studio, they'll call me through Source Connect, and they'll get the live feed of my high quality audio, and they can just edit it and have it in their hands in real time. So that's pretty cool. So it's voiceover is very flexible these days. You can pretty much record from anywhere.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
If singing and doing covers and all of that has helped you practice with voice acting?
I think anytime you're exercising your voice is always, putting the time in, putting in the hours. But I think at this point in my career, the singing is just like a fun side outlet for me. I don't think it necessarily like helps me with my voiceover work specifically, but it does broaden my audience. Whenever I release covers on TikTok and stuff, I think it reaches more and more people, and they discover Child or Genshin Impact. I've had so many people write me countless times. They're like, I wasn't even going to play this game, and then I saw your cover, and I was like, what is going on? And then they get fascinated, and they kind of go down the rabbit hole of some of my content, and then next thing they know, they're maining Child, So that's really cool to have that somewhat of an impact, pun intended, on people and their interest in the game.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
What was your driving goal for voice acting?
Well, to be honest, when I was graduating college, I was pretty freaked out. I didn't know how I was going to make a living. I knew that I've always been creative. I played in bands and stuff like that, and so I had a really vague idea of like how I was going to live this dream of being creative and making a living at that. I was like, what does that mean? How do you do that? So when I moved to Los Angeles, I was pretty much willing to try whatever. I did extra work for TV and film. I was trying to submit for commercials. I got a headshot so I could submit myself. And this voiceover audition came through a casting site. And because of my music background, and I had home recording equipment for my band. So I was like, oh, okay, I could record myself and submit this. And so, yeah, I did that. I read on this audition, and 3 weeks later, I got a call that I booked it. And then that, to me, that was like the big light bulb moment of like, wow, this is a way that people make a living, and it's so cool. It uses a skill set that I seem to already have a bit of. So that's how I got into it, and I was just very excited that this could be my ticket to live a creative life. Like this could be the thing that I pursue. So I just went full force with it. Like once I got that job, I started taking acting voiceover classes, improv. I got a demo professionally made. I didn't have much money at the time, but my dad encouraged me. He's like, if you think it'll pay off in 3 years, put it on your credit card. Got my demo made, got an agent right away, and he was right. After a few years, it became a full-time thing. So that's how I got into it. I was kind of lucky, and also hard work. Thank you. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anyone who is aspiring to be a voice actor, whether by video games or commercials or just voiceovers?
From my experience, that I break it into like a 3-parter. It's like a learning phase, practice phase, getting a demo made, which is your calling card, basically, and then getting representation. So those are sort of the 3 things. Now, simultaneously, what I would tell people is that if you have the money to spare, I would sign up for like a Voice123 or Voices.com, something like that, because you can actually start auditioning for. Now, you won't see many video games or anime on those sites, but if you just want to be a working voice actor and try to book some jobs, that's a great place to start while you're doing some training and learning. But I would encourage people that, like, once they do start getting more work and get an agent, to probably get off those sites, because they tend to be like low-paying jobs and stuff. But yeah, you can start there. I would. If you're in a major city, like, you know, near San Francisco or Sacramento here, I'm sure there's like somebody who coaches voiceover, or somebody you can hop on a call with over Zoom. So that's important. It's also a good way to network. Some of these people actually do some casting. So I would, soak up as much information as you can. There's lots of resources out online. I think, is it D. Bradley Baker has a website called like howtobeavoiceactor.com or something like that. So yeah, just research. I did that. I called studios when I was younger and like knew. I'd just be like, hey, can you tell me like, how do I get started? Where do I find an agent? Blah, blah, blah. People are really, I feel like in the voiceover world, very willing to help. So yeah, just ask questions. And yeah, all the other things I said.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Griffin.
no problem.
What would you say is like the best place to get recognition for like acting talent?
So you really need to have a professional demo, like a very you hire someone who specializes in demos, right? And when you're ready, you record one. It might be an animation demo, it might be a video game demo. Nowadays they do a combination sometimes where it's called an interactive demo, and it's kind of animation and games. But you need that high quality demo of your work. That's your calling card, and then that you email out to agents. That's the best way to get noticed. And maybe you build yourself a little website, and on that web, it doesn't have to be fancy. It can just be like your photo and then your demos, and then maybe like a brief bio or something like that. But yeah, you have to do that legwork and hopefully land a great agent.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
In between singing for your band and those long sessions for recording for projects, is there anything that you do to take care of your voice?
Mainly hydrate. Like I drink a lot of tea. Have you heard of Throat Coat? There's like a tea brand called Throat Coat that's really good. Hot showers. Also, if you've really strained your voice, just vocal rest. Not going out to a concert at night and screaming your head off, talking to your friends. But that's easy for me. I'm a homebody. So, nothing too fancy. But I would say hydration is key.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm working on my voice acting crew, but my major crew is filming and post-production, but voice actors on the side. I get so nervous going to the booth. I get stutter and get nervous.
Yeah.
And I'm worried people call me names. Do you have any tips or confidence how you get
past the nerves?
Yeah.
For me, I feel like practicing in front of people is the only way to get over that. So the more you, unfortunately, the more you put yourself in that uncomfortable situation, the better. So you'll get used to it. And I think once you are more practiced, and you'll just build confidence. And so, unfortunately, the only way to sort of go up is to go through that discomfort. Practice from home a bunch, get random scripts for whatever, and read them and do your thing. And then, but don't shy away from being seen, having somebody give you feedback. So hope that helps, but it's tough.
Yeah, a lot of you guys been giving me a lot of tips this weekend, so.
Yeah, I will tell you, when I was starting, I was nervous. Sometimes, nowadays I record everything from home, so everything is on a digital screen, and I read it from there. But sometimes in the beginning, I would go in and they give me paper copy, and I would be very shaky with it sometimes, or it would take me multiple takes to get it right. So, if you feel that way, don't know that you're not alone, and that everybody starts that way. Yeah.
Thank you.
Where in the world do you get your ideas for your unhinged
Sometimes I'm inspired by the fans. Sometimes I'll find I'm mentioned a bunch on TikTok, and I'll find like, I don't know, Bob Ross Child or something. Just like there's a lot of creativity out there. So some of it's from you guys, and then some of it's just I'm really random, and I just come up with like the air dancer thing. One day I was like, it'd be funny. I wonder if they make custom air dancers. Has everybody seen my wacky inflatable tube man? Okay, so at my booth I have that, and people have asked like, why? How'd you do that? Why? And I'm like, I don't know. One day I thought, I wonder if they make custom ones, and then I was able to upload an image of Child, and it was hilarious. It was glorious. I was like, I have to have this. So it's just, I don't know, top of my head, inspiration from you all. Yeah.
Thank you.
But thank you so much.